I witnessed things that were so real, so profound, that no one had ever spoken about them before. I learned the most important truth: no one ever truly dies. My name is Michael Carson, and before my near-death experiences, I was just a tough guy with a chip on my shoulder. I grew up in the Deep South, where fire and brimstone preaching was the norm. I was a former military man with a fighter's mentality, spirituality, near-death experiences. None of that interested me in the slightest. But everything changed the day I was struck by lightning while talking on the telephone. In that moment, I discovered I was a spiritual being with absolutely nowhere to go and no way to escape this fundamental truth. Not only was I a spiritual being, but I had chosen, and was chosen, to be here at this particular time in history. And on top of that realization, I was dead. I was completely paralyzed. I was blind. And I was burning, feeling like I was on fire because the electrocution had damaged my nerve endings. All of these sensations happened simultaneously. I had to grow up very quickly, learn to walk again, learn basic bodily functions again, transforming from someone who felt invincible to someone utterly helpless. The doctors never gave me more than 6 months to live because of the internal damage. But what really happens when you escape your body is this: you have the opportunity to experience what's called the life review. Your entire existence passes before you in a 360-degree panorama. You miss nothing. Everything you've ever seen or experienced is there. First, you watch it from a second-person perspective, as though you were your own best friend. Then, remarkably, you literally become every person you've ever encountered, feeling the direct results of your interactions with them. For me, most of these experiences involved feeling the pain, anguish, suffering, and brutality that my life choices had created. There were some good moments too, but I primarily confronted the harm I had caused. Through this experience, I came to understand that we live in a world with real structure and parameters. It's not some vague, ethereal concept. There are responsibilities and intentional actions that define our existence. The world operates through energetic patterns, and it is fundamentally fair and just. No one gets away with anything, ever. That's why forgiveness is so powerful. When you forgive, you step out of the line of fire and allow the divine system to work while you're no longer standing between yourself and the other person. Learning to forgive was one of my greatest lessons. After my life review, I had a guide with me. As I approached what looked like a crystal city, imagine driving into Denver at night with all those houses illuminated on the mountainsides, a light fog creating this beautiful scene. The being who was with me somehow merged with me. I can't explain it any other way. It might have been my higher consciousness. I don't know. Suddenly, I found myself alone before 13 beings, 12 directly in front of me and another to my upper right. The being in the upper right would designate one of the 12, who would then begin to shimmer until all I could see was their silvery outline surrounded by pastel colors: red, orange, blue, green, gold, violet, and other hues. This being would send what looked like a box toward me, like a laptop, though that's just the closest comparison I can make. I would enter this box and experience an event. Unlike the peaceful heaven-like place I'd been in before, these experiences engaged all my senses. I could smell burning flesh, see rotting materials, observe buildings and greenery. I was physically present in these scenarios, and then I would return to the beings of light. I went through 12 of these boxes, and the being of light explained, if humanity continues on its current path, the aftermath of wars and conflicts, these are the probable possibilities of what will occur. I documented these visions in 1979 after spending 2 years learning to walk and feed myself again. These were never my prophecies. They came from the beings of light showing me possible futures. I recorded them in a book years later because I wanted people to see what I had seen. What I witnessed included events like Chernobyl, Fukushima, climate shifts, and a pandemic that I described in remarkable detail. All of this recorded years before they occurred. The most profound truth I learned is that no one ever dies. It simply doesn't happen. Anyone who tells you that you're going to die is either misinformed, deliberately misleading you, or has fallen for institutional constructs, be they religious or governmental, that represent the ultimate illusion. Do I believe in reincarnation? I had no direct experience with it during my NDEs, but yes, I believe in it because I've seen the multiple possibilities that exist once you reach the other side. It's like being handed flyers about what you could do next. Think about it this way. Imagine being in heaven and someone approaches with an opportunity. How would you like to hold and hug someone? They ask. We don't hug here. We communicate and connect differently. How would you like to feel someone separate from you? How would you like to co-create like God, to create life where love and physical connection combine to create a vessel, a human being that a divine spiritual being can enter to work on its existence? When you're in heaven, that sounds fascinating. I get to practice being like a creator. I get to see myself from a distance. I get to physically experience love. Why not? This is how it works. It's not dreary or frightening. We are playful, wonderful, caring beings. I always say, you are a powerful, mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. The only thing that can ever go wrong is when you allow something to affect your dignity, which will skew your direction and purpose. And the greatest thing that people allow to affect their dignity is their opinion of themselves based on the rules of religions, institutions, and governments, not their divine self. After being struck by lightning, I needed brain surgery in 1997. Later, I required open-heart surgery and had to be resuscitated after the procedure. 3 days later, I went into cardiac arrest and was resuscitated 2 more times. Beyond my own experiences, I've been a hospice volunteer for 47 years. I've been with 2,017 people transitioning from this world to the next. I've been present as 358 people took their final breath. I've studied what we call death for over 5 decades. So I know what I'm talking about when I say you will never die. It's never going to happen. Consider this. 95% of people who've had near-death experiences report lifting out of their bodies and observing themselves from above, seeing their physical form on a bed, in a car wreck, or wherever they were. If you lift out of your body and see your body, that means you are not your body. That's the profound revelation that near-death experiences bring. You're not going to die, but you will transition. You'll lift out of your body, acclimate yourself to the world you're leaving, and begin to perceive the new system of laws and dynamics affecting your non-physical self. Almost everyone who has had an NDE reports this. Most of my experiences followed this pattern. I'd lift out of my body and see myself on the operating table or lying across the bed after being struck by lightning. The only one that differed was during my brain surgery. I stood at the end of the bed watching the surgeon drill holes in my head. I'm sharing these truths because, over the next few years, death and its causes will become increasingly visible. The systems that have co-created our current experience, pharmaceutical companies, food processing corporations, agricultural conglomerates, will be brought into the light. People will begin to recognize that when healthcare is driven by profit motives, wellness becomes secondary. Why cure someone when you can have a treatable illness that generates ongoing revenue? The fear of death and the belief that your physical body represents your true self are fundamental misconceptions. Anyone who tells you otherwise is either misinformed or intentionally misleading you. Millions of us have returned from NDEs with no agenda, proving categorically that conventional views on death are incorrect. Everyone has an out-of-body experience when they transition, because you never truly die and you are not your physical body. Everything built upon the premise that your body is your true self, other than caring for it properly, is a trap designed to make you believe that's who you are and that you can be destroyed because your body can feel pain. This creates a control mechanism, heaven or hell, reward or punishment. But all of that is nonsense to a spiritual being, though many of us fall for it. In all my journeys to the other side, apart from facing myself in the life review, I never experienced anything hellish. I've studied accounts of hellish NDEs, which represent about 3% of cases. But I can tell you this, there is no hellish experience I've ever heard described that comes anywhere close to the profound confrontation of facing my true self and my motives. That reckoning is far more intense than any conceptual hell. Today, I'm working on creating centers where people can come to understand 3 absolute truths. You will never die, you are not your physical body, and you are an energetic, electrical being. Many people are grieving, experiencing PTSD, or contemplating suicide because the world is changing rapidly. But these 3 fundamental truths can shift consciousness. If you own a cell phone, I can prove you're an electrical being. If you've had an out-of-body experience or heard accounts from those who have, you know you're not just your physical body. And those of us who have returned from death consistently report that true death doesn't exist. I predicted in 1979, when I could first speak again after my accident, that the battle for humanity's soul would be fought in healthcare. I've dedicated my life to hospice and end-of-life care because I can be most effective there, the most caring and understanding. I've been exactly where dying people are going 4 times, and I've been to the other side. That's why I choose to serve in that capacity. Today, we're witnessing events that confirm those early visions. Conflicts in sacred lands, people killing each other while religious figures look on, 2 belief systems fighting while people celebrate holidays meant to honor peace and love. It terrifies me that more people aren't paying attention, aren't putting spiritual pressure toward finding peaceful solutions. Who are we really? What truly matters? Are we still afraid of death because religion says we'll go to heaven or hell? Are we clinging to institutions that claim only physical life matters? Are we trusting governments and medical professions that deny any existence beyond this one? A hospice volunteer faces themselves and their own fears. So many people talk about spiritual truths, but caregivers, hospice volunteers, and medical assistants truly know the difference. I'm not afraid of death, which makes me a comforting presence for those facing transition. I don't preach to dying people about near-death experiences. I focus on them, their needs, their fears. If I can be at the bedside of someone terrified of something inevitable and help them find closure in their life, I can't imagine a higher good I could do to honor the divine source of my understanding. Before they lift out of their body, have their life review, and return to where they came from, I can be there for them. When they transition, they'll be celebrated. Everyone they've ever loved and everyone who has loved them will be there to welcome them. All their pets, everything connected through love, comes to celebrate their return. It's not like wandering around on clouds listening to harp music. That's nonsense. What happens is you energetically combine with the universal force and field. You reconnect. And once reconnected, you can expand outward. You're not trapped as a body on earth. You're ethereal and eternal. You look for opportunities to make a difference, and once you set those intentions, they materialize. The afterlife isn't a lost realm. It's a conscious realm you enter. This physical existence is just a job. We all come here because it's a job, but we get distracted because the system is designed to distract us, to make us think we'll die, to threaten us with suffering if we don't follow certain rules. As death becomes more prevalent through pandemics and wars, look at where we are now in the aftermath of the last global crisis. Look at the fear and control that will accompany the next one. Look at the conflicts escalating toward global war even as we speak. Never in recorded human history have we been this close to mutual assured destruction. What can one person do? Take action. Call your representatives. Tell them you oppose war and violence. Use your voice. I do this regularly. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'll call directly and share my perspective. It's just one voice, but I'm doing something. It's terrifying, yes, but we're spiritual beings. We take action. We don't sit around complaining. We didn't come here to be afraid. We came to be brave and courageous and discover how to make a difference. That's what we do. Remember, if you're here now, you're part of the team bringing light. You've come to help birth a new age that's unfolding around us. I'm getting older, so I know my time in this form is limited, but I care deeply about the world my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will inherit. I want them to be brave, to know they won't die, to understand they're not just their physical bodies, and to recognize their spiritual nature, the meaning of life. We wanted to experience breathing. We wanted to hug someone, to physically feel our love instead of just being our love. We came here to practice being creators, to experience separation and reunion, to grow through challenges. Whenever someone sees this message, I hope they'll take action the very next day. Call your local representatives. Tell them you oppose child trafficking and war. Tell them, as your representatives, to work toward peace. If we're still at war in sacred lands with conflicts expanding rather than resolving, what does that say about our religious institutions and governments? They have failed us, so what do? We take action. We remember who we truly are. We live with awareness of our spiritual nature. And we never forget, no one ever truly dies.